You found TonyBasilio.com, home of the Tony Basilio Show. In just a few minutes, we'll be right with you with another award-winning, action-packed edition of your Tony Basilio Show. You found Radio Free Tennessee. Your Tony Basilio Show will begin momentarily. Keep it locked in right here at TonyBasilio.com and on your Tony Basilio app. And hey, do us a favor. Spread the word.
WJBE 1040 AM, 99.7 FM. Translator W259AB. Powell, Knoxville.
Man, am I glad Matt Dixon's here today to help me make sense of this stuff. Matt, you going to help me make sense of this stuff on a Tuesday? What do you think? You going to help me make sense of this?
I will do my best, Tom.
All right, let's start here. Bill Connolly thinks that our head coach basically said if you give him an equal roster to everybody else in college football, he's the second best coach in college football, Matt. How do you plead to what Bill Connolly says and bring the living listener up to date on who Bill Connolly is? Because I want to talk about that as the show unfolds.
Yeah, he's one of these kind of big numbers guys for college football.
Yep.
Has the SP Plus on ESPN. I think it was SB Nation before that. Mm-hmm. Probably the closest thing to Ken Palm that college football has would be my guess. Mm-hmm. Our best kind of, explanation for him. And that's something new that this like coaching ranking thing that he's come out with. He tinkers with things all the time with all these numbers and tries to find things like that. And that's kind of like a test case run where Heupel's like second. I think it's behind Ryan Day for the best coach. And I don't know all the formulas or what all goes into it, but
are you an adherent of Bill Connolly's? Do you find his stuff to be, when you read it, does his stuff make sense to you, Matt?
Yeah. It does. Okay. Don't always agree with it, but I can understand where a lot of his, because it's all a numbers game for him. Like there's no bias in there. So I think he's a really good tool and a resource to use, and I think his SP Plus rankings are really valuable. And give you a really good idea of where teams stand. And he, obviously thinks highly of Heupel. And I think he did say he inherited just a great situation at UCF and took full advantage. And I mean, he's done really well here at Tennessee too. So,
yep.
I mean, I don't think anybody would say he's the second best coach in the country. But it is good that there's some numbers that show that Heupel is one of the better or one of the best coaches, and I think that's probably fair.
I think he's very good. Now this Boo Carter thing's interesting because I'm not sure Heupel's the best CEO, Matt, and I'm not sure he's good in times like this. But he's really good at taking what he has and figuring out a way to win. I would call Josh Heupel to this point a winner. And look, part of the winning too, Matt, is having the good fortune of having a good schedule and taking advantage of it last year, like some people want to say. Hey, that's part of being a winner. Philip Fulmer in the 90s would get breaks and bounces. It's part of being a winner. The ball bounces your way. Because what do they tell you? They tell you in sports, it's where luck is where opportunity and preparation come together. Right now over me. So we'll get into the Boo Carter stuff. We dropped a video over on YouTube last night. I'll get into that a little later on. Mason Young is going to join us on the other side. We're going to talk with Mason Young regarding the fact that Oklahoma went out and made quite the statement. Matt, stop me because I want to get to this dissing and dismissing of Joey football continues. Stop me, Matt, when I hit a name that you're not on board with. You ready? This is Tier 1. And you can go over to tclub.team today. These are in The Athletic. I put some of them in the blog today. I don't want to take all their stuff, but I'll say this for The Athletic. It's well worth a subscription. That's an excellent publication. Stop me, Matt, when you hear a quarterback you disagree with. They got Cade Klubnik, number 1, coming into college football begin the year. They got Garrett Nussmeier, number 2. They got Lenora Sellers, number 3. You okay with all 3 of those?
Sellers is probably a little high, and I mean, I don't think Klubnik finishes the year as the best quarterback, but I can understand why he's number 1 going into the season.
They've got John Mateer at Oklahoma, who's on our schedule in a real swing game, number 4 in America. DJ Lagway, number 5. Who's missing from that list, Matt? Their top 5. Who will be there at the end of the year?
Who will be there at the end? I mean, Arch Manning's the easy answer. I'm trying not to go there.
That's fine. No, if that's what you think.
I mean, I would say Arch Manning's probably gonna be on that list.
Buy some Arch Manning, okay?
I'm surprised your Penn State guy's not that high since they're, like a number 1 team in some publications.
Yeah, I was asked about. I guess somebody asked me about that on the show yesterday. I would hard sell Penn State at number 1, although I do think Drew Aller's quite a talent. I think he's got a chance to be a pretty good pro quarterback. Look, James Franklin has a goofy offensive system, and a couple years ago when Ricky Ronnie was there, who's now at Virginia Tech, they had it going offensively, but for the most part, James Franklin's offenses are unwatchable. But he's, James Franklin, Matt, in this current era is going to live in the playoffs because they're going to win 10 games in that league just about every year.
Yeah, and get a good draw in the playoffs. You can win a game or 2.
Yeah. So, DJ Lagway, Matt, is he finishing in the top 5 this year?
I'd put him up there before Mateer. I liked watching Mateer last year, but I don't think he's like an elite quarterback. At least he didn't really show that at Washington State. I mean, he didn't have a lot to work with, but I mean, he didn't exactly light up the world.
We're going to talk to Mason Young about from Oklahoma, Tulsa World here coming up momentarily. Mateer, according to The Athletic, number 4 in America. DJ Lagway is 5. Aller from Penn State, 6. Sam Levitt, who's a real competitor from Arizona State, is 7. Kevin Jennings, who absolutely did poo-poo in the Betty last year in the playoffs. I think he threw 2 interceptions for touchdowns in a game that got out of hand pretty quickly with SMU. That like some bad spring football, what we saw out of Kevin Jennings last year. Josh Hoover, number 9 in America. That's the first kid Tennessee went to when they were trying to replace Nico. In fact, if you go to the blog, I underline the guys that Tennessee kicked the tires on. Sawyer Robertson's another one from Baylor. Luke Altmaier's another one from Illinois. Rocco Beck from Iowa State is another one. And then what I did is I emboldened the guys that are on Tennessee's roster. They've got Diego Pavia, a 15 in America, Matt. Too high, or is that about right for him? Because the truth is, when you start looking at that list of quarterbacks, you start appreciating how few there are out there. It's very, very strange. These guys are overcoached from the time they're hand-selected, from the time they're like 8 years old. I don't know if quarterback play, Matt, in college football has been worse in one snapshot in time than it is right now. I read some of those names and I go, what are we doing?
Yeah, there's certainly not a lot of established guys. I just think the quarterback development with all the transfers has really hurt that.
Yep.
To a degree. I don't think Pavia is quite that good, because he's very good for what Vandy asked him to do and for what Vanderbilt is.
Yep.
But they have a very narrow path to winning games, and it involves shortening games and really controlling the clock. And an elite quarterback doesn't have to do that.
Nico, I'm never going to leave you. Number 19 on the athletics list, which means if he's going to be one of the first 32 picks in the NFL draft, he has what they call some work to do. He has what they call work to do. So we're going to visit with Mason Young coming up. I'll get into a few things about the Boo Carter thing, and Boo's mother, Mama Boo, put a post up, took it down. But the post she put up and took down lends credence to what I was saying on that video, which is highly accurate, which is that his teammates are pretty put off by him. Because they had a teammate last year that kind of, sort of went through the motions. And Tennessee, if you'll remember, correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, last year's season opener, James Pierce did not play for a half. Is that right? And then he became a little bit of a distraction as the year went along. Now, they made the playoffs anyway, but it was he was noticeably not himself last year. Is that a fair thing to say, Matt? I'm talking about on the field now.
Yeah, especially early in the season, yes. He didn't have the impact that I think everybody expected.
I'd encourage you to go check that video out. The genesis of it is that, and comes from that, there have been a lot of chatter on these boards, and people ask him, people texted me, and I said, I'm going to make some calls and get to the bottom of whatever it is. Because people are making up stuff about, Boo got in trouble, and he did this, and he did something. I haven't been able to find any of that. Something with Chattanooga, and I haven't been able to. I'm not going to say that's not true, but I haven't been able to find it. I have found, though, that the council over there, the guys that Josh Heupel put together, have spoken to Josh Heupel and said, you got to do something about this guy. Because we're following the rules and doing the workouts and this and that. So we were saying I'm overblown. I ain't overblowing anything. And I'll read his mom stuff later on. You tell me if it's overblown. You tell me if it's overblown. I'm not overblowing anything. I haven't reason to overblow anything. But we'll come back on the other side. Mason Young of your Tulsa World will join. Oklahoma is a real swing game on Tennessee's schedule. It was a swing game last year. It occurs later in the season this time around. Last year was the end of September. About a month or so later this year, we're going to get a pretty good feel for what kind of season Tennessee's having by the time that game rolls around, and a pretty good snapshot for how Oklahoma is doing. But we'll talk with Mason Young, and we'll do that on the other side right after this.
Tonight, we're kicking off our homestand. It's Lance Reinl, your manager with your Knoxville Smokies. Join us tonight and all week for fun promotions and great baseball every night. Go Smokes.
Summer is officially here, and the last thing you want during sweltering heat is a broken air conditioner or HVAC system. That means it's more important than ever to keep you and your family comfortable and safe when extreme Tennessee temperatures arrive. Don't ignore the warning signs that your AC is struggling or nearing the end of its lifespan. And if you need emergency HVAC repairs, routine preventative maintenance, or want to invest in a new system, then call the trusted HVAC experts at Pipe Wrench Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. This month, get up to a $1,000 discount when you buy and install a new air conditioner or HVAC system. We make it easy with free on-site estimates for replacements and free second opinions on repairs. And if budgets are tight, we offer flexible payment plans including 0% financing with credit approval. Be sure to ask about our 10-plus year warranties that are 2 times longer than industry standards, so you don't spend a cent on unexpected costs in the future. So call Pipe Wrench at 865-264-8090 or book online at pipewrench.com to schedule your appointment today. And as always, same-day service guaranteed or the visit is free.
Life never stops moving. And between the 30-minute commutes, daycare pickups, weekly soccer practice, Tuesday night yoga, X number of coffee runs, and that weekend trip to Grandma's, you're racking up the miles. What you need is a tire that can keep up. A tire designed for doers. A tire that's going to last. Like the exceptionally long-lasting Michelin Defender tire. With an 80,000-mile warranty and the safety and comfort you expect, you can forget all about the miles ahead and focus on getting to your destination or conquering your to-do list. Fleet Tire, I-275 exit 1B at East Woodland Avenue in Knoxville. That's Fleet Tire, I-275 exit 1B at East Woodland Avenue in Knoxville. Fleet Tire.
Out-of-town law firms have been swarming into East Tennessee lately. From Memphis, Chattanooga, and Birmingham, they've stormed into the area. Wouldn't you rather do business with a local firm? You know, a true neighbor. Marcos Garza and the pros at the Garza Law Firm are just that. There are neighbors and friends that support local causes year-round. The Garza Law Firm works to serve you professionally on criminal matters, injuries and accident matters, and Social Security and disability filings. The Garza Law Firm is here for you at garzalaw.com. The Garza Law Firm. Let us help.
Are you stuck in a dead-end job or ready for a new challenge? Do you feel like it's time to try a new career? Well, it's time to change lanes with TLD Logistics. My friends at TLD Logistics have some really exciting opportunities for you to learn a new skill. With a new 5-acre driving academy that's now under new leadership with all new course material. And the best part, it's absolutely free. What a great deal to set you on the road to higher pay. And TLD Logistics even offers weekly stipends to offset food and gas expenses. In 6 weeks' time, you could complete this course and be in compliance with FMCSA regulations. Then you're ready for the open road of opportunity. What are you waiting for? It's time to change lanes with TLD Logistics. Visit tldlogistics.com. That's tldlogistics.com. TLD Logistics.
A lime is not always just a lime. You see, some limes are lucky. For when a lime joins the salted rim of a crisp, refreshing Tres Dos Equis, that lime is no longer a mere lime, but a wedge of renowned Mexican limón. Muchas gracias, limón. And also, de nada. Enjoy Dos Equis responsibly. Copyright 2024 Dos Equis, imported by Cervezas Mexicanas, White Plains, New York.
Hey there, Basilio family. Jennifer Morris here with Keller Williams Realty. The countdown to fall football is on. Is your fall plan missing the perfect home to watch the Vols make another playoff run? If a new view is on your game day checklist, I'm ready to help you find it. Don't wait until kickoff. Give me a call today at 865-694-5904 or visit my website at nextmovesmokymountains.com. That's nextmovesmokymountains.com, and go Vols.
Josh Collins at Collins Insurance Agency. At Collins Insurance, we strive to ensure our customers receive better coverage along with bigger savings. Our community is important to us. We want to provide exceptional service to our customers. Anybody can provide great rates, great coverage, but can you also get great service? And hey, don't just take my word for it.
What's up, everybody? Zakai Ziegler here. My family turns to Collins Insurance Agency for the best service, coverage, and price.
So don't just go online and get some random insurance. Experience the Collins Insurance difference.
Like he said, experience the Collins Insurance difference. CollinsInsuranceTN.com. CollinsInsuranceTN.com. And hey, their Mama's Easy approved. CollinsInsuranceTN.com. Thank you to Josh Collins and ZZ.
One more thing, Tony. Go Vols!
Preparing food for a big gathering can really take it out of you. That's why you need to call Calhoun's and check out their selection of party platters. Whether you're hosting a party for the big game, a reunion, or just an everyday gathering, a Calhoun's party platter is next level. Choose from Calhoun's always excellent chicken tenders, fly with Calhoun's wings, or boneless wings with a variety of dipping sauces, award-winning next-level melt-in-your-mouth barbecue ribs, or delicious spinach artichoke dip, or get one of each. Plus, if you're doing burgers or sandwiches, Calhoun's has lots of side dishes like spinach Maria, baked cinnamon apples, Smoky Mountain baked beans, or creamy coleslaw. Available in pints, quarts, and gallons. And to finish things off, pick up one of Calhoun's great desserts to go, including homemade cheesecake or key lime pie. Calhoun's, simply your go-to party headquarters. With 9 locations all over East Tennessee, you can order online and just pick it up. Calhoun's, one of the Copper Cellar family of restaurants, along with Chesapeake's, Copper Cellar, Corner 16, Cherokee Grill, and Smoky Mountain Brewery. Eat local, eat good. Got a real treat for you now on your TLD Logistics phone lines. As a guy we've had on in the past from Tulsa World, bring him in and talk about what really represents a true swing game on Tennessee's schedule. And for that matter, if I was Oklahoma and I was looking at the Tennessee game, I would look at that as a winnable game in Knoxville. I would take you back to the conversation that I had with the odds maker to the Stars, Robert Killer Kowalski, who basically Oklahoma, Tennessee a slight favorite when they come here. Phil Steele said he would have that game as a pick'em. This has been an interesting series down through the years as Tennessee's been blessed to get on the field with them. And Mason Young now joining Tulsa World, who's always nice to join us. And Mason, to say that Oklahoma is indicative of the era we live in would be the understatement of the century, because the team that Tennessee saw last year, the players that they saw last year, particularly on offense, it is such a far cry from what we're going to see in Neyland Stadium or what's going to be on the field here in 5 weeks when it gets real. Welcome in. Hope you're well. Your thoughts on just the winds of change blowing through Norman?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on again. Yeah, I mean, it's like you said, everything's flipped. OU's got a new offensive coordinator in Ben Arbuckle from Washington State, a new quarterback in John Mateer, who followed Arbuckle down. And even beyond the football field, there's so much change with them bringing in a NFL-style front office led by Jim Nagy, the former exec director of the Senior Bowl, and Joe Castiglione, OU's athletic director, announcing that he's going to retire at the end of this academic year. So it's really a team and a fan base and a beat that never sleeps. That there's always something going on at that university. But as you said, it's going to be vastly different team this fall for sure.
Just the Cliff Notes version of it. Offensively, the quarterback and the offensive coordinator come in from Washington State. Hopefully the offensive line is better. Matt and I were recollecting off the air, Matt Dixon, who will jump in here momentarily, the offensive line play from Oklahoma last year, to call that substandard is an understatement. Let's park on the offensive line for a second before we talk about some of the additions. Are they, I mean, they can't be worse. How much better are they this year?
Yeah, they've got to be. And you know, the season will be the test of that. They are going to get tested really quickly because they're going to play Michigan in week 2. And they're always, I know that they had some guys leave for the NFL, but they're always pretty physical up front on both sides of the line of scrimmage. So that's going to be a massive game right away, a really telling game for what this Oklahoma team can be. The offensive line, it's a lot of there's significant personnel turnover as well. There, they brought in Derek Simmons from Western Carolina, who is just a massive human being, like 6'6", 330, and I have a feeling that he'll be the starting right tackle. We'll see how good he can be. And then, they potentially are going to lean on some young guys that, you probably never heard of. Eddie Pierre-Louis is a guy that they really like on the interior at guard, a guy that got his feet wet a little bit last year, played some when they beat Alabama and Norman in their home finale. And he's someone that I think the expectations of making the jump are. And another guy kind of in that realm is Michael Fasusi, who's a freshman, 5-star recruit. He's kind of to Oklahoma what David Sanders is to Tennessee. Just this uber raw but talented young kid. But there's some thought that he's on the fast track, that he potentially could be the starter at left tackle for this team before the season is even over. And it's somewhat concerning, right? Because of how young he is, that it's like, oh wow, this guy's already the best guy they got to play this spot. But it could also speak to just the talent he has. They do have a few guys back from last year on the offensive line. Troy Everett is their center. He is kind of the vocal leader of the group, but interestingly enough, he might not even start. He's a transfer from Appalachian State, and he's maybe a little bit undersized, and they brought in a guy named Jake Michaela from Stanford in the spring portal to compete with him for the center job. So we'll see how that shakes out. Fabechi Wiwu was probably their most consistent guy last year. He's back at right guard. So they have what feels like some pretty solid depth, but they're going to have to figure it out quickly. I think the biggest problem with the OU offensive line under Bill Bedenbaugh, great talent developer that he is it feels like it always takes them until like the Texas game in week 5 or week 6 to get going. Well, like I was saying before, you can't wait for that this year. You got to be on point for that Michigan game in week 2 and ready to go win that game.
You know what's really interesting? I thought occurs to me. So Texas and Oklahoma joined the league last year. Texas and Oklahoma are both playing what I would call the twins up there in the Big Ten in Ohio State and Michigan this year. Texas draws Ohio State week 1, Oklahoma, Michigan week 2, which one of my favorite things about college football is seeing those great intersectional games. Were those contracts drawn up before they joined this league, and these are remnants of playing that out? Is that how this is working?
It's a fascinating dynamic. From my understanding, I think it was just kind of how it shook out. Like, he just said, you guys are gonna, in the SEC, like, you guys are gonna play the opposite of who you play of each other, and then we'll get it flipped. But Texas, that Ohio State game week 1 is definitely probably it's one of the tougher games on their schedule, and then OU is tough. I don't think there's any. I think that's objective truth. I don't think there's any looking at that and denying that OU's had a pretty rough draw these first 2 years.
Rough draw. Yeah, you could put it that way. I mean, when you look at Texas' schedule and you look at what they've done to Oklahoma, are Oklahoma fans, for just 10,000-foot view before we drill down, are they understanding toward that head coach, or do they use this as a cudgel by which to whip this guy if they, say, put up an 8-4 or 7-5? Because there's a scenario where Oklahoma could have a pretty good football team and have a pretty good season and still finish 8-4 because, well, that schedule, I mean, you talk about Michigan, you also have Texas, you also have South Carolina, you also have Alabama, you also have LSU, you also have a trip to Knoxville. I mean, the hits just keep on coming for that poor Oklahoma bunch this year. That's a brutal schedule.
Yeah, the OU fans are pretty rabid and relentless. I don't think they care who's on the schedule. I think the expectation is win, because that's always been the standard at Oklahoma, from Bud Wilkinson and Barry Switzer to Bob Stoops. And so I don't think there's much leniency on that. Also, because if you look back at last year, there were some games. You're playing the same opponents this year that you did last year. Obviously, the Michigan in non-conference is a big jump, but the SEC schedule, like, there were some games last year that they ought to have won. Like, they should have beat Missouri on the road. There's no excuse for that. And they had opportunities to beat LSU, to beat Tennessee, even, that they just completely squandered. So I don't think they're going to be forgiving at all. Their expectation is the old meme, just win, baby, and that's kind of it.
Hey, Mason, the level of play in that quarterback play in that Tennessee-Oklahoma game, and I've been doing this 30-plus years, for two would-be, should-be high mid-card teams in a power league, especially this league, that was about as bad as it got, the quarterback play that night. That kid from Oklahoma, that starter who's now at Auburn, I don't know if I've ever seen a guy more lost than him. When he threw that second lateral and just threw that ball out in the flat, and just threw it into the ground for that quick turnover after Nico turned the ball over, I mean, that was the damnedest thing I've seen on a football field.
Yeah, it was bewildering, and you can kind of see based on that OU felt like they needed to, make a move at quarterback this offseason, do something different. You wish Jackson Arnold all the best.
Sure.
He was a good guy, always good with the media, but how much better will he be at Auburn? I'm not sold on that. I kind of wonder if maybe just the speed of the game in the SEC versus, and obviously Texas high school football is very good football, but I just kind of wonder if the trouble with understanding and processing things is going to kind of limit his ability, no matter where he plays or what system he's in.
Yeah, I think him and Nico both are kind of kissing cousins from that perspective. But let's go back to the here, the now. Mateer, obviously, Oklahoma invested a lot of money in him. For the second consecutive season, a team in the league with offensive issues, Vanderbilt was the first to do it. Decides not only we're going to bring an offensive coordinator in with his quarterback, which I think that's something that we're going to begin to see more of in the sport with this free movement of players. I don't know why coaches wouldn't move with players. It makes complete sense to me. Can you, from your perspective, tell me what you think they're going to do offensively? How much do they modify what they did at Washington State last year? Do you think we see a same type of attack from them?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they shape that. I think an interesting note is kind of the perception of Ben Arbuckle, who originally kind of learned to be a college offensive coordinator from Zach Kitley. They were at Houston Baptist together before Kitley was at Texas Tech and whatnot. So he's this West Texas guy, kind of the Kitley, Lincoln Riley, Leachian mold. And I think with that, there's kind of this connotation, expectation that it's going to be traditional air raid. But, and we were talking about this before we hopped on here, but like it kind of leans, it seems to kind of lean more Heupel. Like their run pass split last year at Washington State, Arbuckle and Mateer, was 55% run, 45% pass. And I think what you're seeing is a tailoring to the strengths of the players within the scheme. I think at this point, Mateer is a better runner than he is a passer. Like he really is pretty dynamic with his legs. And add in this piece too, in the spring portal, OU went and got Jaden Ott from Cal as a transfer running back who 2 years ago had 1,200 yards and 12 touchdowns, was all, Pac-12 player back in 2023. He had some injuries last year, but they're banking that he can get back to form this year. And so, that potentially is gonna kind of dictate the offense and how they roll. Is the 1-2 punch of Mateer and Ott on the ground. Now, I mean, we'll kind of see what they get out of this receiver room. You talked about the problems on the O-line, but last year, but it was prevalent on receivers too. They had tons of guys banged up and tons of inexperienced guys playing who didn't really have it. So they went and restocked through the transfer portal this offseason with guys who have had proven production at various levels. And they're hoping that, they can get the passing attack going again too with some of these new receivers. And that's not to say that Mateer isn't a good thrower and that he hasn't worked to elevate his game even more this offseason. But when you bring in a running back like Ott, and you also have Mateer is thicker than a lot of people would think. I mean, he's a big weight room guy. His muscle mass really kind of stands out. And so, when you have that 1-2 punch with him and the running back, it's hard to think that you're not going to run the ball.
I like that about his game. I'll bring Matt Dixon in here. Matt and I we got on him like kind of last year, and Mateer was sort of one of my guilty pleasures along with the Pavia guy. The guy is an absolute stone-cold competitor, which is what I love about that Mateer guy. Hey, Matt, I jump you in here. Are you surprised to hear that Washington State's run-to-pass ratio kind of is similar to what we do here in Knoxville? Does that surprise you, Matt?
Not a ton. It's a lot more QB runs, though, like QB designed runs with Mateer than Tennessee's, where it's really running back heavy. They run the quarterback a ton, or at least they did last year with Mateer, and I assume they'll do that again this year with him, as long as he can stay healthy. Because, like you said, he almost looks for contact, which is probably why he can elevate the play of others around him and is a good team leader. So I think it's fascinating with Oklahoma that. And obviously Venables is a defensive guy, but they have like a legit top 10 defense, and it's completely overlooked because of the offensive woes. I feel like their defense can sneak up on teams because even though they've lost a couple of guys, it should still be one of the premier units in the country.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fact for sure. I mean, Danny Stutzman, Billy Bowman, kind of the elder leaders of that defense moving on to the NFL, but you bring back so many guys with experience. Kip Lewis at linebacker almost single-handedly won them their games against Alabama and Auburn last year with his pick sixes. He's really good at everything that they ask him to do as a linebacker. And then Robert Spears Jennings is a guy at safety that there are high expectations for as a senior. He's a big-time thumper, forced a ton of fumbles last year. And then the expectations are really high for Oklahoma's defensive line, which is, completely contrary to what it was in the Big 12. I mean, obviously the Lincoln Riley teams, their defenses all around were terrible, but they really didn't have the boys up front to win on the line of scrimmage on defense. And that's completely different this year. R. Mason Thomas coming back at defensive end. He's expected to be, again, one of the best pass rushers in the SEC, was all SEC last year. And from Grayson Halton and Dominic Williams to David Stone and Jaden Jackson, who was a freshman All-American last year, there's a lot to like on the defensive interior as well. So, yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how they kind of fill the leadership void, sans Stutzman and Bowman. But if they can bring it all together, you're right. It has the makings of another top 20, maybe even top 10 defense.
Oh, I totally buy them on defense. I mean, when you're on the field as much as they were last year, and you have the number, and I know they lost two of their key guys who you mentioned earlier to the NFL. And the Stutzman guy was a total handful, but at the end of the day, when you're able to do that, when you get that little offense, obviously, and Matt's right. I mean, that gets kind of lost in the translation. Here's my question for you, though, and this is where the rubber meets the road, because we saw this with the Pavia guy last year. The Diego Pavia that Tennessee saw, the Diego Pavia that played against Alabama early in the year, are two different players. I think, they say Mason, as Mason Young of our Tulsa World joins, they say that the SEC is the closest thing to the NFL, which, if in fact that is the case, it seems to me that a good way to get a quarterback hurt is to run him a lot and run him with impunity, which is kind of what they did at Washington State, like Matt was talking about, which is sort of what Pavia did last year. And when you get one of these guys that looks for contact, are you going to be the same player in November? Because last year the game fell in September. There's no doubt if the game fell in September again. Speaking of the Tennessee game, and I'm talking to you about that, all politics are local. I'm wondering how much of material will be left by the time we get to that early November date. Is that a fair point to bring up here?
Yeah, it's definitely a valid concern. There are some questions to be answered about this offense and about Mateer. I think the overarching thing is, how does what he did in the Pac-2 against Mountain West teams translate to the SEC, against better athletes and probably even, better coaching as well. So there's something to be said for that. But also I think he is someone who maybe has a tendency to hold onto the ball too long and put some pressure on himself and take some sacks or take some, pursuits that he doesn't need to take on. Kind of Baker Mayfield-esque in that way a little bit. But that's been the point of emphasis this offseason is ball out quick, improved decision-making. So maybe that can help with the stuff in the pocket. You're right. You do worry a little bit about the +1 run game and, them not spamming it too much early, but maybe the presence of Ott, and they have a pretty deep stable of running backs behind Ott too. I mean, Javonte Barnes, who was their leading rusher last year, they were surprisingly able to retain him despite bringing in Ott. Xavier Robinson was a breakout player at the end of the year last year. He had a big day when they beat Alabama. And then Taylor Tatum is kind of just the forgotten guy in there, but because he didn't really ascend last year as quickly as people thought he would, but he was the number 1 running back in the 2024 class. So they've got some really good depth there, and maybe those guys all being present and playing up to their potential can kind of take off, how much they have to use Mateer in the +1 run game.
I find it really interesting, and obviously this time of the year we're all looking for content, but The Athletic did a rank of quarterbacks. I'm sure you saw this. They've got Mateer as number 4 in America. Does that surprise you?
Well, I guess not anymore because the hype train just continues to. I mean,
there you go.
It just, from Todd McShay to Jordan Rodgers to Greg McElroy to you name it.
Well,
I mean, I think Chris Doring last week picked Mateer to win the Heisman, picked OU to win the SEC. I think that's a little bit.
What?
I think that's a little bit presumptuous. I think that's definitely a little bit presumptuous. And
wow.
So you've got the national media that are just absolutely all in on Mateer and all in on OU. Us local media, I think, are really pessimistic because in the last 3 years, 2 of those years, we've watched some really bad football. And I think that there's some scarring there, and we're just kind of tempering expectations just because of how bad it's been. I think the answer, the truth is probably somewhere in between. I don't think Mateer is going to win the Heisman. I don't think OU is going to win the SEC, but could they be, better than 6 and 7? Yeah, I think that they got to be. They I don't see any way that they're not, even against this schedule. So we'll see how it all plays out. But like I said, I think the truth about Mateer and the truth about Oklahoma is somewhere in between. The really bad and the unrealistic good.
So from your perspective, right, because I get asked this a lot on here, I think if Tennessee goes 9-3 this year, that's a wonderful season. Fans don't want to hear that. People have us call me and they got the Vols 10-2, and the offensive line's going to be great, and this is all going to come together, and and hey, one thing about college football is it's never been more nebulous. It's never been more unpredictable from year to year, especially in the kind of middle of the pack, so to speak. And I think both Tennessee and Oklahoma could rise out of the middle of the pack and, be a surprise, good or bad, depending on your perspective. When you think about the upcoming year and you look at that schedule, what number do you land on?
I think 8-4 is acceptable. 9-3 is ideal. I don't really know how they get above that. But I think that fans could be made to be content with, one of those two numbers that I mentioned. I think more than anything, they just don't. They're tired of kind of being a laughing stock of people saying, "Oh, Oklahoma is about to become the new Nebraska,"
Ooh.
Things like that.
Ooh.
And I think that if you can have a winning season and kind of distance yourself from some of those comparisons and some of those bad vibes, I think that's probably good enough. And then your hope is that, Ben Arbuckle's not so good that he doesn't get a head coaching job somewhere, and Mateer's not so good that he declares for the draft a year early, and you're able to get them both back for the next year and really build on what they were able to do in 2025.
Your offensive coordinator from last year is now one of Josh Heupel's offensive analysts. We have the budgets of third world countries now on these staffs, so you have 1 million analysts, and you got all these guys running around in your room. And from your perspective, and I hear that one of the roles they've kind of pointed toward him for fulfilling is sort of being a tough guy internally, or a detail-oriented type of guy that's going to tighten things up for Tennessee. Is that the guy you remember?
Yeah, he's definitely kind of rough and tumble, but at the same time, I think he's a good motivator. I don't think he was the winningest head coach in North Texas's history. Now I know that that's, a very different level of football than the SEC, but I don't think, especially with all the experiences he's had at Indiana, North Carolina, and Arizona, and all the other coaches he's been around, like Larry Fedora, Kevin Wilson, and whatnot. Like, I don't think the guy all of a sudden just became a bad football coach. I think it was a confluence of things last year. I think the inexperience at quarterback, the injuries at wide receiver and offensive line, and then I think he kind of he'd never really coached quarterbacks super hands-on before, and so the development wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's sort of a big picture guy. The weakness of the offense last year, besides all those other aforementioned things, was just feeling like it didn't really have a direction. And I think that he was so big picture from his time as a head coach that he couldn't dial back down into the kind of offensive coordinator mindset. And so maybe that's a way that he helps Heupel, is there are things that from his experience as a head coach that he'll think of that, that helps Josh. And I think also, I mean, the players really liked him. I think he is yes, he's gruff, but at the same time, he is very personable and understanding and just a good dude. And I think that, I think he can work with different types of guys. He can kind of bring in, like you were saying, the toughness piece, but he also kind of knows how to counsel guys as well. So I think, for what minimally Tennessee is probably going to be asking him to do, I don't see any reason why he can't.
I don't want to judge him on what I saw last year, because how do you coordinate when you have that quarterback, who doesn't read and recognize, and as you were saying, the game looked like it was going a million miles an hour, and then you've got an offensive line that can't block, and then you had issues where that was a very when Tennessee saw them, that was a very un-Oklahoma-esque team from a skill position standpoint. I mean, they kind of didn't have a chance, or somebody didn't have a chance. Matt Dixon's got another thought for us here. Mason Young, Tulsa World, taking a few for us. We're previewing Oklahoma. I think one of the real coin flip games on Tennessee's schedule is going to determine the type of number both these teams put up at the end of the year. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, well, we were talking about Seth Littrell and how he fits in with Tennessee. I think in addition to being that bad cop guy, I think because him and Heupel have a previous relationship that goes back a long ways, he might be able to stand up and kind of disagree with Heupel on some things that maybe some of the other coaches, especially the younger ones on the offensive staff, just maybe don't have that pull. And I'm just curious, I thought hiring Jim Nagy was a really interesting move for Oklahoma, and he's one of the few kind of true GM type guys in college football right now. How much sway does he have with some of the key decisions, and how is him and Venables' relationship? Because if you can make it work, I think it's a really good one, but it could also probably get toxic.
Yeah, from everything we know right now, it's been pretty collaborative, and I think that the real test of things will come, about this time next year, because obviously, like, Nagy gets here in, late February, early March. His priority number one is building out a staff. He hired like 6 guys to join him in this new front office for OU. And so they were kind of behind the wheel, or not behind the wheel, but behind the curve in terms of like getting on the recruiting. So like we'll see a little bit of what their evaluations can do with the spring portal class that OU had and how those guys factor into this season. Because, for example, like Jaden Ott at running back is a guy that Jim Nagy has been scouting for a long time. He knew after Ott had a great sophomore year at Cal that it was like, okay, this is a guy I want to try to get to the Senior Bowl here in a couple of years. So we'll see some of kind of the first fruits of their labor this season, but then I think it really hits in with the 2027 recruiting class, like figuring out how much the players that OU recruited in that were decided on, by the front office versus the coaching staff, or if it was kind of an agreement and things like that. I do know there are some guys in the 26 class that the front office has come in and maybe OU coaches were like on them for a while, and the front office has come in and said like, hey, we don't need to overpay for this guy. We think this guy and this guy and this guy are all potentially better options. And there's been some guys that OU has backed off of recruiting, presumably because of that. So it sounds like it's very collaborative, and things are working like a well-oiled machine right now. The thing that'll be interesting is next offseason, because all of a sudden, Randall Stevenson, who's a former CEO of AT&T, he was appointed earlier this year as essentially the chairman of the football program, appointed by the president and the athletic director to kind of help OU balance the budget in the revenue sharing era, but also, I mean, he's kind of been given oversight of football for somehow. It's kind of an interesting dynamic, but so he helped hire Jim Nagy. He's going to be the one hiring Joe Castiglione's successor as athletic director. And for all intents and purposes, maybe he's the one who has the final say on whether or not Brent Venables stays or goes. And I think Jim Nagy could have some sway in that as well. I mean, I don't know why Randall wouldn't consult him. So the collaboration between the front office and the coaching staff, probably ought to be, it better be as good as they're making it out to be, because, if Jim Nagy has trouble with working with Brent Venables, then maybe that's all the more reason to tell Randall Stevenson, like, hey, maybe we ought to go in a different direction here.
Got a narc in the room all of a sudden. I don't envy Venables. I mean, obviously these people make a lot of money, and you're better off renting other than owning, and don't get too comfortable in one place, and all those things are true. But that sounds like there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen there in that spot. But hey, listen, if folks want to read your work, share with us, or follow along online, how do they do so? And I appreciate your time.
Of course. No, glad to hop on. Appreciate you guys having me on. Looking forward to coming up to Knoxville this year. I was there on vacation a couple weeks ago. First time I'd been there. It's a great town. This will be 10 years since that Baker Mayfield game.
Wow.
In Knoxville.
Wow.
I don't think I'll be making many friends with that, bringing up that memory.
It's a hell of a night. Hey, listen, people here still say, because Tennessee football had been very dormant until that Saturday night, just went through a real kind of dark period. And Butch Jones decided to kick a 16-yard field goal from right inside Oklahoma's end zone, up by with a lead. Of course, I'm being a little facetious, but Butch Jones was a complete and total loser. So, and Baker Magic that night, Baker Mayfield, that the magic was born that night. Oklahoma was really teetering that night, weren't they?
Yeah, playing with fire.
Playing with fire, brother. So how do they follow along? And you got to come hang out with us. We're down at Calhoun's on the River on Fridays down there, which is the signature spot across the Southeast. We do our show down there before the thousands and thousands and thousands. And we'd love to have you come out if you're going to be in town and serve you lunch on that day.
Yeah, that would be great. I'm looking forward to it. In terms of following my work, keeping up with all things Sooners, I'm on Twitter at Mason_Young_0. And you can read my work on TulsaWorld.com and OUSportsExtra.com.
My man, have a great one, and be cool rest of the summer. How about it?
Will do. Appreciate y'all.
Mason Young, one more time. Matt, I walk away from that thinking two things. Brent Venables in big trouble because their schedule's really hard. Then again, maybe they find magic with Mateer. Maybe if that works out and they're able to get to like 9 wins, Matt, you're going to see more copycat quarterback offensive coordinator acquisitions going forward in this league and other leagues, I do believe, if that works out, Matt, because they do have a very good defense. Just a matter of fixing the offense.
Yeah, even if they solve the quarterback deal with Mateer, that offensive line's just not very good. The receivers aren't good. I don't know.
Yep.
It's just hard to see them getting, past 8, maybe 9 wins if everything goes right. And while that's still a really good year given the circumstances, that's not going to get – that might give Venables another year or two. But I just think Venables might just be one of those coaches that is so defensive-minded that he has a hard time managing an offense, even whether that's like in practice and how you manage your team, where it seems like – the defense isn't the problem, but I just don't know if he's the guy that can manage an offense as a head coach, even if he has that hands-off approach, because just the way he views the game. Kind of like, like Muschamp was that way. Obviously, Pruitt was that way.
Yes.
Not as successful, but just some guys are just made to be defensive coordinators, and there's nothing wrong with that. And when you are offered the money that you're offered to be a head coach, there's no reason not to take that. But some guys just can't be head coaches.
Well, the defensive-minded guys.
That's a really tough job to be your first head coaching job too.
Oh,
that's the place that is one of the premier, programs in college football history, with a lot of expectations, and moving to this league was, he's almost set up to fail.
It's called Rent Don't Own, and it's called Save Your Money, because you're going to be back. You're going to be back among the lot. But we're going to come back on the other side at 865-200-5402. We started out talking about Connolly's ranking of Josh Heupel, and he has him number 2 in the country, according to his metrics. In other words, if the ingredients are the same and you give him the team, they're going to win, more likely than not. That's pretty interesting when you stop and think about that. So we'll get into that. Also, over at tclub.team today, we were talking about some of these quarterback rankings from The Athletic. I want to drill down on it because we didn't even get to Joey Football yet, who gets completely dissed. And it's been almost the summer of diss by the Tennessee team, so much so that they've internalized it. And part of the Boo Carter stuff that's been sort of going on behind the scenes is related to this. We did a video over on our YouTube feed last night and dropped it. And was talking to somebody in the local media I compared notes to, and they were like, yeah, when you dropped that last night, I had 4 or 5 texts, and we'll do more of those things as events unfold. But let me do this. Let me get a brief timeout, and then we'll get as many people in as possible as we continue on the other side. It is your TB show, breaking it down scientifically with you on a Tuesday as we continue with more right after this.
WJBE 1040 AM 99.7 FM. Translator W259AB. Powell, Knoxville.
Hey, Tony B listeners, I'm Billy from Grade A Grounds, a UT grad bringing Knoxville a better way to raise money. We roast premium coffee fully branded for your team or cause. You keep 40% of sales, and we donate 5% to local needs. Let's win on and off the field. Visit gradeagrounds.com to start your winning fundraiser today.
Living Vol fan, we're on the countdown to kickoff, and that means you need to make sure you are game ready. Head to Alumni Hall to get this season's Tennessee sideline apparel. Nike, Columbia, Peter Millar, and more. Shop top brands for the entire family. Hats, Yeti, tailgating gear, and so much more. If it's for the Tennessee fan, Alumni Hall has it. Spend $150 and get $10 in Hall cash rewards. Shop at alumnihall.com. Download their app or shop any of their locations in Knoxville, Murfreesboro, or the Tri-Cities. Alumni Hall, the ultimate shopping destination for Vol fans.
It's the hottest post-game show on the planet. Garza Law. Fifth quarter fan reaction. Fan reaction. As soon as the final gun sounds, we're live.
Tony Basilio, and we are live once again with Chad Stockton of FC Alliance. And Chad, you're out there on the field, 100 strong here in Knoxville. Talk to me. What's been going on with FC Alliance now that the weather's heating up?
We're out here for the first night of the boys' tryouts. We have over 400 kids that'll be here tonight. So a lot of exciting times right now for us. Our club team started at U9 and we go all the way through U19. We have over 1,000 kids that come from Chattanooga from the Tri-Cities that make all our teams and make this club what it is today. So we're excited about it. We finished the younger kids a couple of weeks ago. We just finished the girls last night, and now we're on to our older boys program as we speak right now.
And we're blowing and going in the Tri-Cities. Tell me about it.
We started FC Alliance North 1 year ago, and coming off the first year, we are the largest, most competitive club up in the Tri-Cities area. We just finished our tryouts last night. Looks like right now we will be well over 400 kids for the upcoming season. So great things happening up there. We've put our boys into some really good regional leagues. So we're excited about what the future holds for them and also our girls programs.
If you want more information, check them out at fcallianceknox.org. That's fcallianceknox.org. Chad Stockton, keep growing the beautiful game here in East Tennessee.
Absolutely. Thanks, Tony.
Hi, I'm Jim Simpson, owner of Simpson Meats. When's the last time you grilled a really good burger or steak? One your friends still talk about. Our goal at Simpson Meats is to make that happen every time you have a cookout. All of our cuts of meats, steaks, burgers, briskets, and pork are always fresh, flavorful, and sustainably sourced. We are family owned, so we know the importance of knowing how and where your food is raised. We have been putting quality first since 1888. Visit our butcher shop off Lovell Road or online at simpsonmeats.com.
Tony Basilio along with the great Mark Griffin. And we're here to talk about our friends at Performance Medicine. And Griff, their slogan, stay educated, stay healthy. That's you.
Wow. I really like to think that, Tony, and I'd like to give Dr. Rogers a lot of credit because I definitely want to stay educated and healthy, and knowing that he's putting the time and effort in to make sure of my care. I want to encourage your listeners to put the time to learn and become educated and get to know Dr. Rogers and see if it can help with your health as well.
And there's a really, really easy way to do that. In fact, they've got their own YouTube channel. You can see Dr. Rogers for himself with his staff. It's called The Performance Medicine Show over at the Performance Medicine channel over on YouTube. Also, more information at performancemedicine.net. To our friends in North Knoxville, a brand new location over in Fountain City, now accepting patients. So many ways to reach Dr. Rogers. And like they say, stay educated, stay healthy. Performance Medicine, online, performancemedicine.net. TB here for Cedar Bluff Plumbing, a live and local company that's been serving our area for over 32 years and counting because every customer counts, and I mean no job is too small. Cedar Bluff Plumbing just voted #1 by City View magazine because multiple plumbing experts are on call to serve all your plumbing needs. Chances are there'll be a plumber in your area when you call, and they won't send some salesman to your house. You're going to get a high character, trustworthy, highly trained plumber who will serve you, not like some of these guys that look like they came off the set of America's Most Wanted. Cedar Bluff Plumbing is Basilio tested and approved and will go the extra mile for you because Chucky Mack is a servant of the people and my consigliere to the throne, celebrating over 32 years of serving living volunteers. Cedar Bluff Plumbing. Call 588-4448. That's 588-4448. Cedar Bluff Plumbing.
Attention Vol fans, are you tired of complicated, clunky fleet technology that makes your job harder? Say goodbye to frustration and hello to Connexial, your hometown partner in logistics. It's time to rev up your operations with next level fleet management from Connexial. Connexial is here to keep your business on track with technology that works as hard as you do. Our game-changing ELD gives you more than just hours of service. With AI-powered dash cameras and real-time asset tracking, you'll have eyes on the road, cargo, and your fleet from anywhere, anytime. And the best part, our friendly US-based customer support team is just one phone call away. No more long wait times or frustrating tech talk. Just real people with real solutions. With Connexial, you get a professional team you can trust and easy-to-use products that keep you on the road. What do you say, Tony?
I'm ready. Make the smart move and call Connexial today.
865-888-6920. Learn more at Connexial.com. That's Konexial.com. Drive life with Connexial and go Vols.
Basilio here, and you know my friends at Carnes Motor Company started with a dream over a quarter century ago. I met Rob and Brian back when I still had hair, and they were working at a huge dealership in West Knoxville. But they told me back then they wanted to sell cars on their terms, and I wanted to do radio on my terms. Their terms, just like my terms, are ultimately your terms. In both cases, you're the winner. A Car Guru's National Award winner with a 5-star rating on all sites, just like our Vols. Everything about buying a car from Carnes Motor Company is no hassle. They specialize in high-quality pre-owned vehicles between the $5,000 to $25,000 range. And if you need to sell a car, they'll either buy your car or they'll help you sell it. Carnes Motor Company also has a top-notch service department. Therefore, every vehicle is rigorously inspected and serviced prior to delivery. So you're guaranteed to get a quality pre-owned vehicle every time. If you need a place for service, they've got you covered. Come be a part of the Carnes Motor Company family and tell them you heard about it from me. Online at carnesmotor.com, Oak Ridge Highway, 1 mile past the Carnes light. Carnes Motor Company.
Yeehaw! Some people say
Yeehaw,
betting
baby.
online is still the wild, wild west. But with the VIP Play app, you're riding with the best. VIP Play app is hotter than a $2 pistol packed with flair. Live hosts and features finer than a frog hair. Send your old betting problems out of town with a slap. You'll be betting sharp as a tack on the VIP Play app.
Don't be a better, be a better with VIP Play today.
Download VIP Play today or head to VIPPlayApp.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-88-99789. Must be 21 plus and located in Tennessee to bet.
I'm going to tell you something. That Will Heflin on that VIP Play app spot, first of all, he voices it, then he sings. And the next thing I'm going to find out is he played banjo on it. Matt, did you realize back in the spring when you were doing Garza Law, Tennessee baseball extra innings after the Tennessee baseball games, did you realize Will was that talented? That he could do a voice like that and then pick on the banjo and do all those things? Were you aware of that?
I did not, no. No, if he needs a side gig up there at Dollywood, he could probably get one in one of those shows.
Yep, it's impressive. So the Boo Carter thing is interesting because news started to kind of happen, not news, but people started to speculate over the weekend, put your cup on, and the crux of the story with Boo Carter is that his teammates are tired of rules for me and rules for thee with him. That's the best way I can put it. And so, well, Tony, you do, but do you really know? Well, I'm going to read something that his mother put on social media, and you tell me what this says to you. She says, coaches and coaches only. And by the way, his mother looks like an absolute character, which in my world, characters are welcome. I love characters. I'm for characters. So, Mom Boo, if you're listening, you look like you're a lot of fun, and characters are welcome. But her son's gotten sideways with his teammates, and they have a council over there. And the council is not just, the way they do it's interesting, the way they set it up. It's not just, as I understand this, team captains. You know, because you could look at a team captain guy and you could say, well, you guys are the coach's favorites and you're the favorite. No, it's a cross-section of people. And it's people from different classes. And essentially they've gone to Heupel and they've said, you know, this guy's kind of a distraction. We got to get this, we got to sort of get this guy in line. That's where a lot of this chatter's coming from. And I made the video for two reasons. One, because it's real. And two, because when stuff like this happens, people, to fill the vacuum, make up things. Oh, there was some incident in Chattanooga, and this guy's in big trouble with the law, and blah, 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 blah. And I know that, you know, and that's what happens. I don't think that stuff's true. I do think the stuff about not him not buying in 100%, I do think that stuff's true. And there's two things against the backdrop of this which make it exacerbating toward the team. The first thing is the Nico deal is fresh in everybody's mind, and the team leaders don't want Nico to win. There's a lot of competitive people that want to show the world that, hey, this is more than just Team Nico over here. And I got time for that. So one of the things I wanted to show in that video is they've got a pretty good culture and a very strong culture from that perspective. The other thing, though, when you're Josh Heupel is you know that this kid is a tantalizing playmaker, and you got to keep the wheels on people like this. I'm just going to keep it real with you. And when guys are a cut above, like this kid's a cut above, I mean, look, they're talking about playing him both ways on both sides of the ball. Obviously, you're an exemplary athlete when that's the case. Obviously, and he's a pretty damn good football player. And you hate to just look at a guy like that and throw him away, because I don't think he's a bad kid. I don't think he's like a thug. I don't think that. I think he's a guy, though, that is probably pretty immature, would be my guess. But who wasn't at that age and then you give him that kind of money? And this is something that a lot of football coaches are having to deal with in that sport, even more so than basketball. You know, the basketball players make a lot of money, but there's so few of them that you're able to. I think that's a more easily manageable sport. Football, you think about it, you got those 85 guys. You've got all those personalities. You've got a couple of spots that are going to bubble up. I mean, look at the Georgia situation. Georgia has one problem after another, one arrest after another, one incident after another. And yet they keep right on ticking. You know why? Because they got ball players. They got ball players. And from a Tennessee perspective, when you think about Abu Carter, you don't have the luxury of saying to a guy like that, get lost. But I do think that's what guys on that council would like to kind of see happen. I think they're sick of this guy. As a head coach, how do you manage that? I've set up this council. These guys have come to me. They've got heat with their teammate. They're showing a ton of leadership. There's no way a head coach is going to say to that kid, goodbye. Which is why I was saying, is Josh Heupel going to say boo? And what does boo look like? If he says boo, what does that mean? Last year, Matt, correct me if I'm wrong, James Pierce, they suspend him early in the season for like half a game. Am I remembering that correctly? He didn't play.
I feel like a half or a quarter or something. Yeah, and he didn't do much the first 3 or 4 games.
Yeah,
impact wise on the field either.
So it's going to be really interesting. Heupel's going to probably say in the press, this is nothing. People around it that are arms of the deal are probably going to say this is nothing. No, it's something. And you know how you know it's something? First of all, you have all that chatter about it. And too many people care about this stuff. So when something is something, you're going to know about it because too many people care about it. And it's bigger than the both of us. Okay? So Mama Boo 6 asked the following on social media. And for those of you that are in the camp of, well, Tony, you did a video about nothing, you tell me what this means. I want you to tell me what this means. Or I'm trying to start something. No, I'm not trying to start anything. I'm telling you all the chatter over the weekend is there for a reason, because this is real. And if people that know don't want to tell you about it, okay, that's fine. Then you know where you can come. For somebody that's going to tell you in real time, not after the fact, but in real time, what's going on. I don't mind being that person. I've never minded being that person. It does not bother me. Because look, my goal has never been to get invited to the cocktail parties or the barbecues. And by the way, I don't. But that's just not my deal. It never has been. But I digress. Here's what Mama Boo says. She says, coaches and coaches only. This is from her Twitter feed. She says, how do you all handle situations with young men on your team not getting along? And then she says, at highlight. What does that mean? What does that mean? Matt, what does that mean to you when you hear her write that? on the heels of me making that video.
I mean, obviously there's some locker room conflict going on. I have no idea what it is or how serious it is or what it could be, but it's something you need to get straightened out, or you'd hope would get straightened out. So, I don't know.
I was talking to somebody that's kind of an insider today. They were talking about Tim Banks. Quote that he gave back in the spring, which is an interesting thing, right? Because this concept of this kid playing two ways, and Tim Banks basically in the press, and I'm going to go back and try and find the quote, but he basically says, well, in terms of Boo playing offense, he's going to have to bear down, fly right, the kid at Colorado last year that was able to do that, and it's not fair to compare anybody to him, but that Hunter kid, his maturity and character and maturity was off the charts last year. And basically, Tim Banks was like, Boo is just Boo. He's got this big personality, and it's hard to focus him. Again, I don't think he's a bad kid. I said in that video last night, I don't think he's a bad kid. I think people are rumor mongering on him on some things. But there's a difference between that and there's nothing to see here. This is not a there's nothing to see here thing. Because if this is there's a nothing to see here thing, a parent is not on a social media saying, how do you handle situations with young men on your team not getting along? It's a problem. And the backstory on the problem is the Joseph's kid and others on that team watched James Pierce Jr. kind of walk the line last year. Same line. And the weird thing about the Pierce guy, Matt, is that he was in line for a big NFL payday. Correct me if I'm wrong. Before the season, was he not way, way, way up there in the first round, like projected?
Yeah, there was some top 10 type stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And where did he go? Do you remember?
I think he was towards the end of the first round. He's still a first round pick.
Yeah, he's a hell of a player.
Yeah. No, over talented.
This Boo Carter guy is extremely talented. You saw that when he gets a ball in his hands. You saw that when he got on the field last year. I think the guy could play offense. People laughed at, Greg in Columbia all last year, especially on a team bereft of playmakers like these guys were last year. Hopefully they got more this year, but who knows? We're not going to know till we see it. But when you have a parent out there publicly saying that, that tells me that what I was telling you is 100% lock, stock, and barrel the truth. And I hate that. But it's part and parcel of how you're going to deal with this thing. People say, well, what's going to happen? They're going to kick him off the team. I don't know how you kick Matt. You're not going to kick him off that team, are they?
That would have to be the last resort.
There's no way.
Yeah, you certainly don't want to.
You don't have enough ball players on your team to kick him off your team. Do you suspend him for a couple games? I don't know. Do you sit him down and do a zero tolerance thing with him? Built into the fabric of this, though, is great news. And here's the great news. 99.9% of that roster is highly committed to not letting Nico win this year and Big Nick. They're highly committed to that. So you can say, well, Basilio, you're stirring things up. Actually, I'm not. I'm actually highlighting the fact that that roster is highly committed to getting the most out of what they have this year. Does that mean winning every game? I don't know. I'm sure in their minds it does, but I think it means being your best, doing it as professionally as possible. I think it's good news, Matt. I think this thing here, this little blow up, I think this is good news from the perspective of they've got some strong leadership there. And by the way, one point I made in that blog, and I would encourage you to go look at that video over on our YouTube channel. Like and subscribe and click on your notifications because we got more content coming, a lot more. Matt and I have talked about some stuff that he'll be doing, that we're going to be doing. But, you know, Matt, the thing is, I love the fact that there are people that are on that team, like the Kitzelmans of the world, who just kind of got here, right? The Josephs of the world, who was kind of an immature kid in his early on in his deal. But I think it's very, very interesting that those guys are standing up. I think it's a great sign, personally.
Yeah, you have to be your leadership has to come from your players, regardless of who the coach is and what their personality is. Your players have to lead and lead by example, and I think Joseph's is a good example because you're right. He was the guy who was a little bit immature, maybe didn't give his all at practice every day when he first got here and things like that.
Yeah,
and that may be what Boo Carter's issue is, just an immature thing, a guy who maybe thinks he's so good he can kind of take some days off in practice and things like that, which if you're going to be a two-way guy, you better be the hardest worker on the team.
That's the point.
That's what's kind of disappointing with this is you have a guy who is one of your more talented players with a leadership kind of personality, and it seems like he's clashing with the other players on the team and upperclassmen, and that's not ideal. But if you can find a way to fix all that, it can in turn make your team better in the long run, and especially once the season comes around. So, I mean, you hope whatever it is, it's salvageable. So I do think it's interesting, and maybe I'm reading too much into it, but you talk about his mom's comments. It doesn't sound like he's looking to leave. It sounds like maybe they're trying to figure out a way to make something work.
I couldn't agree with that more. I could not agree with that more. And look, my message is I'm not crusading against that kid because I don't think he's a bad kid. But he's not doing the things that his teammates have been doing this summer. And I'm not going to pretend he has. Because I have too many people telling me otherwise. And I don't think he's a bad kid. So people want to rumor monger about people, and this kind of thing happens. And the truth is, though, that they have an issue with him. And, I mean, it could end with him getting kicked off the team, but I had somebody tell me yesterday, you said yesterday on your show that he's getting thrown off team. I said, I never even came close to saying that. I wrote at the top of the blog today, tclub.team, I have no idea what's going to happen here. But I do know this, and I tied it into the Pierce thing last year. Those people, those leaders on that team were sick of how that kid got preferential treatment. And they don't want to see that happen again. And you know what, Matt? I don't blame them. Do you blame them, Matt? Hey, Matt, you and I are on a team and I have to come to every damn meeting when I don't want to get up and I have a headache and my back hurts and this and that and the other and I don't feel well today and I got allergies and whatever it is. I was out late at night with my girlfriend, whatever it is. And I got to get up that day and get to that meeting and get there on time and show respect to everybody involved. And you come walking in the door 20 minutes late and you do that repeatedly, that would urinate me off, Matt. I'm sorry. I think it's good leadership to say, hey, coach.
Yeah, you can't have that stuff happen.
Hey, coach.
Especially with one of your better players.
Hey, coach. We're not going to do this again, coach. So you're going to do something about it. Here's the thing with head coaches, though. Head coaches know I need that guy to win. Yeah, I've set this council up. Yeah, culture is very important to me. Now you got to Now you got to thread the needle. Isn't that interesting, Matt? How you got to thread that needle? I got to make these guys that are in leadership know that you have a voice and you matter. But then I also got to keep the wheels on this guy over here who can play. And that's the line these guys all walk. Hey, Kirby Smart gets before the microphone and talks all this stuff about discipline. And his team runs wild off the field. It's crazy down there how much stuff's happened down there. You think those Georgia fans would be understanding if he threw his best players off the team and they started losing those games? He said, well, you know what? We're kind of doing it right here. But you got to thread the needle. You got to figure out. And that's why those guys make a lot of money. You got to walk that. You got to somehow figure out a way to straddle that line. And there's a way to do it. There's a way to do it. Do I sound, Matt, to you like I'm crusading against this Carter kid? Because I am not in the least. Have you gotten that vibe from me?
No, not at all. I think we all want him on the team.
I want to see him play both ways.
I mean, you're a better team with him than without him.
Yeah, I want to see him play wide receiver. Celebrate his success. I sure hope that he gets the message. I don't know how they're going to get the message to him. It hasn't been received so far. He hasn't had the best of summers. Look, I don't pretend. I told you last year the Brazil guy didn't work at it. And he went out in the offseason and went out during the regular season and looked like a guy that didn't work at it. Last year, the Pierce guy, who's wildly talented, for some reason coasted. And guess what? He had the season of a guy that looked like he coasted. Those two things are extremely accurate. And then the deal with Nico Nerfball. Back in December, I didn't pretend with you here when Nico was kind of flirting around and Tennessee called their bluff and called down to Miami. We told you that stuff in real time last year. Go back and look at some of those videos. We called that stuff in real time last year. They were flirting around with Miami and this, that, and the other. And, they were offering us $3 million. No, they didn't. And Tennessee called their bluff on that. No, they didn't. But this is a team with a strong leadership group that's extremely sensitive right now and jealous of their culture. And you know what? That's a good thing. But this deal with Boo Carter is a deal. That's why his mother wrote that on social media. That's what that's about. If you're wondering what that was about, that's what that's about. Now, some of the other things she's written, like chestnut checkers and checkmate, I mean, I don't know what that means. Maybe she beat somebody, Matt, on online chess. My son sits over there and does that sometimes at night when he gets really sick and tired and bored of me and the lovely Mrs. B. I'll see him over there playing on his phone. Are you a chess player, Matt?
I haven't played in a really long time.
Well, apparently she had checkmate because she said chestnut checkers and checkmate. Again, she looks like a total character. And again, I'm somebody who loves characters. Characters in my world are 100% welcome. 1,000% of the time. Let me do this before I get some phone calls in, and we will do that on the other side. We went a little long here. I wanted to unpack the Boo Carter thing for you. Go check out the video over on our YouTube channel, like and subscribe, and we'll continue with more after this.
Guests appear on the TLD Logistics Hotline, online at tldlogistics.com.
Your Smokies are back home this week and so many great promotions every single night. Like all-you-can-eat Wednesday and Thirsty Thursday with half-off draft beers. Huge special guest on Friday. You guessed it, Santa and Mrs. Claus. It's Christmas in July. And on Saturday, it's wrestling night with live matches after the game. Fireworks both nights. Sunday, make sure to get the little ones out early with Peppa Pig.
I'm Peppa Pig.
Grab your tickets now at SmokiesBaseball.com.
Whether it's baseball, football, softball, church groups, or schools, if you're raising money, do it with locally roasted Grade A Grounds coffee. I'm Billy Miller, a Vol alum and Knoxville native. You keep 40% of sales, and we donate 5% back to our East Tennessee community. Get started today by visiting our website at gradeagrounds.com.
Since 2001, Pipe Wrench Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling has been the trusted and preferred name for over 70,000 Knoxville locals. Looking for expert plumbing services and HVAC services, including repairs, replacements, or maintenance. Voted Best Plumber in Knoxville and one of Knoxville's best HVAC companies 7 years in a row. Pipe Wrench is a fully licensed mechanical contractor and committed to excellence and craftsmanship, so you can trust our certified experts to go above and beyond to meet your plumbing and HVAC needs, no matter what problem arises.
It's TLD Logistics Overdrive Overtime, presented by TLD Logistics. Online at tldlogistics.com.
0% financing with credit approval. Be sure to ask about our 10-plus year warranties that are 2 times longer than industry.
And now let's go to the guys with today's edition of TLD Logistics Overdrive Overtime.
865-264-8090 or book online at pipewrench.com to schedule your appointment today. And as always, same-day service guaranteed, or the visit is free.
Hi, I'm Jim Simpson, owner of Simpson Meats. When's the last time you grilled a really good burger or steak? One your friends still talk about. Our goal at Simpson Meats is to make that happen every time you have a cookout. All of our cuts of meats, steaks, burgers, briskets, and pork are always fresh, flavorful, and sustainably sourced. We are family owned, so we know the importance of knowing how and where your food is raised. We have been putting quality first since 1888. Visit our butcher shop off Lovell Road or online at simpsonmeats.com.
Life never stops moving. And between the 30-minute commutes, daycare pickups, weekly soccer practice, Tuesday night yoga, X number of coffee runs, and that weekend trip to Grandma's, you're racking up the miles. What you need is a tire that can keep up. A tire designed for doers. A tire that's going to last. Like the exceptionally long-lasting Michelin Defender tire. With an 80,000-mile warranty and the safety and comfort you expect, you can forget all about the miles ahead and focus on getting to your destination or conquering your to-do list. Fleet Tire, I-275 exit 1B at East Woodland Avenue in Knoxville. That's Fleet Tire, I-275 exit 1B at East Woodland Avenue in Knoxville. Fleet Tire. Basilio here for Budget Transmissions. TGMD, the great Matt Dixon, took his Ford Escape to budget, and like our gold bullet back in the day, it was a total mess. And now, Matt's back in the game. He's got a new transmission, axle, wheel bearing, both radiator hoses, engine mounts, coolant hoses. I mean, his Ford Escape was about to escape to the junkyard, but he didn't begrudge it. He took it to budget, and now he's on his way back to Omaha. Budget Transmissions, over 30 years in business, conveniently located in Bearden. All extended service contracts are honored. A gold certified Repair Pal member. 865-584-4391. 865-584-4391. Budget Transmissions. Don't begrudge it. Take it to budget.
Hey there, Basilio family. Jennifer Morse here with Keller Williams Realty. The countdown to fall football is on. Is your fall plan missing the perfect home to watch the Vols make another playoff run? If a new view is on your game day checklist, I'm ready to help you find it. Don't wait until kickoff. Give me a call today at 865-694-5904 or visit my website at nextmovesmokymountains.com. That's nextmovesmokymountains.com, and go Vols.
Tony B here with the great Zakai Ziegler. For
Hey, whoa. Tony, I got this. Hey, Tennessee, it's easy here. Next time you have an electric issue at your home or business, call my friends at Advent Electric. With offices in Knoxville and Nashville, it's Mama's Easy approved.
You heard it from the most electrifying player in the league. Call the service professionals at Advent Electric, 865-588-0631. Online, adventelectric.com. Tell them ZZ sent you. Tony B back with you. Look, I'm locked into a solid 2 hours today. There will be no TLD Logistics Overdrive overtime. The lovely Miss B is telling me you're getting off the air. You're getting upstairs. You're getting your feet up, and we're going to try and get your back in shape because I'm a nut. And last night she was like, you're going to do a video. Why? You can barely walk. And, basically I need my head examined. And I'm looking off to the side at her. But I'm passionate about what I do. I love what I do. So I am in some pain over here, though. Back to the phone. Who cares about me? Back to the phones we go. I'm very whiny, aren't I? With it? Yeah. Pretty whiny. Ice bag. Don't leave home without it. Don't leave home without it. My ice bag. Hey, if you like your ice bag, you can keep your ice bag. Let's go back to our phones and get our next call in on a Tuesday. Hello and welcome in. You are live on our Tuesday transmission.
Hey, Tony, it's Rob in Dallas.
Hey, Rob in Dallas. Welcome in.
Hey, man, a couple things. First, the Boo Carter thing.
Yep.
This is a leadership opportunity for the coach, for the teammates. You don't kick the kid off the team. You sit him down and talk to him. Say, listen, I know you're making a little bit of money now, but if you start buying in, start showing up, start doing your thing, you're going to make a lot of money later. You know, you don't want to take this kid off the team. He's young. What's he, 19, 20?
Yeah, he's a kid. He's a baby, man.
Yeah, give 19-year-old Robin Dallas $700,000 to see how mature I am.
That would not have gone well with me.
No.
I'll tell you that.
No.
No.
And then I wanted to call in about the ratings that I saw this morning. I love it. I wish they'd have voted us dead last in the SEC and put Joey football dead last in Division I football. We play better with a chip on our shoulder, man. I love it. They don't expect nothing out of us. Good. We'll show up and show them something.
Hey, Matt, they got Joey football, by my calculations, second to last in the conference quarterback-wise. The only guy that he's in front of on that athletic quarterback rating is Zach Calzada, Matt Dixon. You couldn't disrespect the guy more than that, could you?
No, and really it's a disrespect to Heupel because his quarterbacks always produce. So, no, to put him that low is, he's obviously not some frontline guy, but, marrying him with Heupel's offense in this scheme should elevate him to be, borderline top 25, you would think.
Zach freaking Calzada, Ty Simpson of Alabama. Just for the sake of the conversation here, they have him in Tier 4, which is 31 through 59. And Ty Simpson of Alabama, you could make the case, is pretty disrespected at 47. They got Gunnar Stockton down below him. They got Blake Simpson of Mississippi State at number 58. And Joey Football is number 60. They consider him a Tier 5 quarterback, along with Steve Angeli of Syracuse, who starts the year. Brandon Lewis of Memphis State, as I call it. And then the number 63 player on the board is Zach Calzada.
That's great stuff.
It's great theater, man. Hey, it's as great John Lennon said, whatever gets you through the night, it's fun. It occupies our time and gets us one day closer to football season. Somebody thinks Joey Football is a Tier 5 quarterback. Straight trash, basically, is what they're saying.
I love it because I tell you what, the worst time of the year for me is this time.
Yep.
And I hate it when they come out and they put Tennessee, is picked to win the East, and Tennessee's going to be a playoff, and Joey Aguilar is going to be a Heisman Trophy finalist. I hate that. That shit drives me nuts. I'm like, no, don't even talk about it.
No. That's like Matt. Matt tells me off the air, he's like, Tony, this showy football stuff, I mean, come on, man, that's embarrassing. Don't do that. And whatever you do, don't get on there and start predicting how we're going to go to Florida and win. And to him, I say, okay, Matt, I'm not going to predict we're going to go to Florida and win. I'm done doing that.
But we are.
Yeah, you and Brian have yourselves convinced of that, which is good. Hey, I'm for it, man. Because, hey, listen, if at first you don't succeed, try again, right?
Yeah. To be quite honest, I got us having a pretty good season. I got us dropping 2 games. I got us dropping Alabama.
10-2. If that team goes 10-2, with all the changes and all the uncertainty, Josh Heupel is coach of the century. Mint right now. Mint the statue. Let's put the statue outside.
Hey, I feel good about it.
Hey, why not, man?
I'm undefeated right now. So.
There you go. Hey, I'm not raining on anybody's parade. Go feel good about it. It's good.
Yeah. I didn't really want to get on the Boo Carter thing. I think it's blown way out. What happens inside those 4 walls should stay inside those 4 walls. Team should handle it. But I don't think you kick the kid off the team. I think you set him down and have a serious conversation with him. And I would use James Pierce as an example. Say, look, this was a top 10 draft pick going last year. He went, I think, 26. How much money difference is it between a top 10 pick and 26?
Yeah, he didn't help himself.
Right. And say, look, do you want to leave $5-6 million on the table? Or do you want to be a top 10 pick because that's the talent you have? And you need to start showing up and demonstrating that. Not only that, with the talent, you need to be one of the leaders on the team. I mean, create some ownership for that guy. Maybe that's what he needs. You know, he's relied on talent his whole life. Everybody's catered to him. You know, and hey, now it's time for you to step up, and you got to be a leader of this team and hold him accountable. You know, but I don't think you don't kick him off. You keep him on the team.
Robin, Dallas, thank you. In the modern era, you're not kicking that kid off a team. Well, not in any era. Not in any era. Not in a day and age where, first of all, you don't have a tremendous lot of playmakers, so you don't have a lot of leverage if you're a head coach. Obviously, sideways with his teammates, and in a perfect world, sure, that all stays within the walls. But now there's social media, and you have a parent out there saying, coaches, what do I do? Somebody like me is going to lend context to that because I'm not afraid to talk about it. And the context to her post is that his teammates are telling the head coach, you got to do something about this guy. That's the context. Hello and welcome in. TLD Logistics phone lines. You're on the air on our Tuesday. It's your Tony Basilio show. Hi.
Hey, guys. Dave.
Hey, Dave. Welcome in.
Well, I want to take a little break from Boo Carter and football. I have to give credit to the Barnes staff for going out and finding that Ethan Berg, that guard from Israel. I just have to give you credit. I think that guy, they wouldn't have brought that guy in if he wasn't going to help this basketball team.
He's a professional basketball player, Dave. Has played high-level basketball, who they think is really going to help them as a 2-guard. And they identified what you identified. Everybody knew that, which is, hey, this basketball team's incomplete. Now they give themselves a chance of having a more complete roster.
Guy's going to be a 23-year-old freshman when he plays his first game. But I don't care. Playing within the rules. So I'm excited about it. I've watched his highlights. I don't know if you caught any of his highlights.
Oh, I see what I see. The guy can shoot the basketball. That's what they need.
And he can handle the basketball.
Yep.
And I have to, how they pull that one out, going across the country, across the world, and finding help like that. I think that's terrific.
And the NCAA, hey, Dave, the NCAA is so schizophrenic.
Yeah.
That Tennessee doesn't know yet how much eligibility he's going to have. They've been told he's going to have some. That's why they took him. They went ahead and took him. Is the NCAA going to grant him 1 year, 2 years, 3 years? I'll tell you how schizophrenic the NCAA is. Tennessee's initial read on this when they got involved with him was he's only going to get a year. Mike Wilson wrote at the end of the week last week, and I'll give him credit. He's got really good sources. Somebody from the NCAA came back and told Tennessee later in the week, last week, the way this thing is tracking, he might get 2, he might get 3. Now, let me tell you this. If you get a guy with his ability that has 2 years or 3 years, I don't care if the guy's 38 years old and he's got gray hair growing out of every orifice of his body, Dave. I'm taking him every day and twice on a Sunday. So shout out to Mike Wilson for having that information, because I think that might be accurate. I think this kid might get more than a year, which would be a crazy find out of nowhere. That would be crazy if they pull that out.
And I'm telling you, and I've told my buddy this, several buddies this, you cannot. I mean, you can bring, I know Ament is supposed to be all everything. He's still a freshman. I know he's top 5, top 4, top 3, whatever he is. He's, I hope he has a great year. But this Ethan Berg kid is he spent 2 years in the military, which they have to do in Israel. And this kid is mature. And, when you go out, you get these kids, he's a man. A kid that's 18 years old out of high school is not quite a man yet, if you get my drift.
Listen, in the spirit of my man, Gary Sturm, I don't mess with the Israelis, brah. You know what I mean? I don't mess with those people. They're tough people now. I don't mess with them.
I don't care who they pray to or how old they are. And they wear orange and white.
I'm for him. Thank you, brother. Good talking to you. I think it's a great find. I think it's an interesting story. I can't wait to hear the backstory on him and how he came on their radar, which I haven't been able to determine yet, but we'll write something on that at some point. We'll drill down on that deal. I want to remind you, I'm taking the over on the Berg kid. Hey, Matt, does it bother you that the kid's 23 years old? Or does that enhance it for you? Is that an enhancer or two, as a great Titans Bill once said?
That's absolutely an enhancer. Because I don't care about pro style, potential. I care about their ability right now. And he's a mature kid who should be able to function well in the SEC, which, as Coach Dykes says, is the second most physical league in the world, behind the NBA.
A lot of inside jokes there. We had a Coach Dykes reference. We had an enhancerer. Shout out Tom Marine or two. Before we go back to the phones, I want to say a special shout out to my man VIP Play, Will Heflin, and my friends at VIP Play. Look, football season's right around the corner. You want to talk about the Oklahoma game, as we were earlier in the show with Nathan Young? You can do exactly that. You can go bet on it over at VIP Play. That's right, because they've got to spread up. For the Oklahoma game, they're taking action on it. In fact, they're taking action on all 12 Tennessee football games. First sports book in the state to begin accepting wagers for all look-ahead lines on Vol football. Believe that. Believe that. Also, all 17 Tennessee Titan regular season football games are there. Get well soon, Will Levis. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, 200 leagues. Live always, numerous bet types, props, options. If you have a bet in mind you can't find it on your sports book, Robert Killer Kowalski and the VIP Play team will make it happen for you. Dreams come true and everybody gets treated like a VIP at VIP Play. If you have a gambling problem, 800-889-9789. 21 and over, located in the state of Tennessee, to place a bet. And back to our busy phones we go. And I've been told, I don't know about you, but I've been told that I got to get off the air. But I'm going to do a TLD Logistics Overdrive Overtime. Brian, do I do that for about 5 minutes, or do we make Laura mad, or do we get off the air? What do we do here?
I would never make Laura mad.
Brian's seen her mad. Woo-hoo! Hello and welcome into our next call. You're on the air.
Hey, Tony. How you doing, guy?
Hey, Greg. Welcome in, man.
Hey, just thought I'd give you a buzz about the Boo Carter deal.
I was thinking about you over the weekend when that whole thing was percolating, Greg.
Yeah, I was kind of shocked a little bit, but I wasn't really that much shocked. What I understood was when he signed with Tennessee, he was told he would get offensive play. I don't have that in stone, but I had been told that and saw it on several different things. And then we all know what happened last season. And this kid, for anyone who might not know his history, state of Tennessee, 6A, which is the biggest schools in the state, he was voted the Titans TWSAA 6A Player of the Year. And the guy could play on offense. I watched several of their games online during his senior year at Bradley Central down near Chattanooga in Cleveland. But anyway, you got a guy who never got on the field. And if we all remember Jalen Hyatt, this kid could have been just like him. He could have been just like him on the offensive side. The guy's amazing on offense, never got the opportunity.
Hey, Greg,
let me ask you,
I want you to pump me up like that one day. To say you're his number one fan, I mean, you might be a bigger fan of him than Mama Boo, and that's saying something.
Well, he needs
to
give a little bit of credit.
You were saying you wanted to ask me something. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
But let me ask you guys a question. If you went to a job and you had a bachelor's degree in whatever it is, and you got a couple of job offers and you took this one job offer and they bring you in and they put you on something that has nothing to do with what you came in thinking you were going to do when you decided to take that job, how would you feel?
Not nice to answer a question with a question, Greg, but what were my work habits? Did I prove to them that I deserved to get that work? Because I hear his work habits aren't very good.
Well, they might have gotten that way because he was not given the opportunity he was told he would be given.
Wow.
People got to look at that beginning of the year. And we had SEC Media Days not long ago.
Yep.
And nobody that was down there covering the University of Tennessee thought anything about not having anybody on the wide receiver crew. Why didn't somebody question him about not playing Boo Carter on offense? I never understood. And I'm going to say the longer we go with Heupel, I like him now, don't get me wrong, but I think he's scatterbrained.
Greg,
y'all know what I'm talking about.
No, I don't. But I love you. You're Boo Carter's number one fan. That's Ichiban, as they say in Japan. To the living listener, I love you. I appreciate you. I told the Divine Miss L I'd get off the air, and I will. No TLD Logistics Overdrive Overtime today. Peace and love.
WJBE 1040 AM 99.7 FM. Translator W259AB. Powell, Knoxville.
See, I've stayed married for, let's see, what year is this? 34 plus years, which is, I don't know, it's like if you knew me, you'd say that must be the most fine woman to ever walk the face of the earth. Trust me, she's up there. because I am a complete goof. And I really don't want to try her patience today more than I already have. Because, yeah, I mean, I could tell you this story. Yesterday, I'm on the ground, and I'm doing these. This is what happened to me. Now we're off the air. I don't want to bore you, but I'm doing these exercises to unlock my SI joint. She says, Tony, what you're doing is like when you have a toothache, pulling on it, and all you're doing is aggravating your nerve. So we have an argument. She says, tomorrow, I'm going to make a little prediction. When you get up, you're not going to be able to move. Get off the floor. Quit stretching. What are you doing? My son tells me that. I said, you guys aren't inside my body. Guess who was right? Somebody was right. Somebody was wrong. I'm going to give you 2 guesses here. Okay. Right. That's why I'm getting off the air. Putting my feet up. Putting myself on ice. Put today's show on ice. We love you. We appreciate you. Check out that YouTube video and have a Dwight Gooden. And by the way, Greg, I want you in my corner, brah. I want you in my corner. In fact, you ought to call Laura and tell her how it's her fault. It's her fault. What I did yesterday. You're my man, Greg.